This is a summary of the second season of Debbie and Carrie, The Next Generation. 6 months after the Sabari took Mars, a small ship appears above Earth, causing a panic. But it is not piloted by Sabari, but by another race called the Nikos. Their leader tells James Smith Bentley that his people were conquered and enslaved by the Sabari and want freedom. Now the President of the United States authorizes a mission to conquer Mars, appointing Admiral Omar to command the attacking Earth fleet. The Admiral invites James to join him in the upcoming battle. Along with them will go Debbie, Carrie, Richard, Diana, and Janet, all in the USS Sandy. The Earth fleet soon arrives at Mars and makes an all-out attack on the Sabari. The battle only lasts a few hours. The Earth fleet loses 5 ships and 300 crew members, but the Sabari are totally defeated, including Commander Otto, whose flagship is destroyed. With Mars now taken over by humans, Richard and Diana volunteer to remain on Mars and conduct scientific research for the Earth Space Force, while James, Debbie, Carrie, and Janet return to Earth. A month later, Laura Park reports to Debbie the happy news that she now has a granddaughter, thanks to her daughter Linda having a baby. Back at the Texas town, Jessica is working again at the Tuscany Tavern. And so is Jen, who was invited to work there by Penny. Sadly, Jessica is unable to move on without Lucy, and so less than a year after Lucy dies, so does Jessica, despite her having been perfectly healthy for most of her life. Carrie soon reports Jessica's death to Richard and Diana, and this causes Richard to begin to miss his old life on Earth. Jessica's loss serves as the tipping point for Debbie and Carrie, who then decide to go back to the year 2029 in the USS Sandy and change their own history by preventing the murders of Michael Jefferson and Charles McKenzie. So they arrive at the home of the gay couple about half an hour before their killer, Pete Jensen, was supposed to kill them. Instead, Carrie kills Pete Jensen immediately, saving the gay couple. Back on Mars, Diana now tells Richard that she is pregnant. This increases their desire to return to Earth. James agrees to make a return trip to Mars to get Richard and Diana, and at first he invites Debbie to come for the trip. But those plans are changed when the director of NASA asks James to transport a group of scientists to Mars to replace Richard and Diana, so James accepts the director's request and leaves Debbie behind. But before the USS Sandy arrives at Mars, Diana suffers a miscarriage, and she is devastated by this loss. When Richard and Diana return home, Debbie eagerly greets Diana and offers to help her with the coming baby, which only makes Diana feel worse once she has to admit she lost the baby. With summer over, Jen and Mac enroll in high school, but they are both placed in a special education class where they can receive instructions made for their limited potential because of their cave-dwelling background. They soon make a friend in the person of Anna Richardo, another special ed student. But they also make an enemy, Sammy, a snobbish jerk who looks down on special ed kids. It isn't long before Mac and Anna become a couple, and they go to the Tuscany Tavern for their first date, only to have Sammy try to ruin the date by harassing them. So Mac tries to settle things with his fists. And then Penny comes out of the kitchen and promptly bans Sammy from the restaurant for attacking her son Mac. Mac then takes Anna to Eric Sterling's auto shop, where he hopes to be an auto mechanic like Eric in a few years. Once again, they have to deal with Sammy, who has come to have his car's oil changed, and he gets a tongue lashing from both Mac and Eric, humiliating Sammy once more. Meanwhile, David Owen II, son of Nicholas Owen and grandson of Reverend Dave Owen, is making hateful videos attacking LGBT people and atheists, blaming them for corrupting his grandfather's town decades earlier. But Debbie and Richard soon discover Owen's YouTube channel and are naturally outraged at Owen's lies. After some discussion among themselves, the 6 shareholders of the USS Sandy finally agree to sell the ship to NASA, gaining $6 billion in the process. James removes the ship's time travel device and its invisibility device from the ship before selling it, and then has them installed at the Smith/Wilson mansion, along with solar panels on the roof to power the devices. But when James actually tries to use those devices in the mansion, he finds that the invisibility device makes the solar panels useless, causing the device itself to run low on power. James decides instead to travel back in time 100,000 years to visit Gerlach and Pelabon, Jen and Mac's original parents. The time trip is successful, and so James, Penny, Jen and Mac meet Gerlach again, along with Pelabon and their baby daughter Flo. James and Penny bring Gerlach and Hellebong to their mansion, where they are once more impressed by what people from the 21st century have and are able to do. Then Gerlach, Hellebong, and Flo return to their cave. Returning to the 21st century, James and Penny then discuss future plans for themselves as well as Jen and Mac. In Dallas, Carrie is shocked to discover an entire family that has been killed because of a mass shooting involving a gay couple. Charles, who was also at the crime scene, asks Debbie to comfort Carrie. Aunt Debbie reminds Carrie of how precious her own life is because of her love and respect for other human beings. A love and respect that is not shared by David Owen, who makes a video blaming the mass shooting on the couple in question being gay. Debbie and Carrie are outraged at this, so they respond with a video of their own blasting Owen and telling the story of John List, a devout Lutheran who also killed his entire family in a mass shooting in 1971. Their video soon goes viral, and so Owen is publicly discredited. On Mars, Admiral Omar gets a message from another group of Sabari, the survivors, who say they are hunting the elitists who left them behind to die on their home world. Omar tells the survivors the whole story of the events leading up to and including the Battle of Mars. Then the Sabari survivors come and remove both the elitists and the Nikos from Mars, leaving the planet in the hands of humans alone. Later, Carrie and Diana investigate a crime scene in which a woman was found murdered. This is the third such woman found in the park, and all of them were lesbian, indicating a homophobic serial killer is responsible. To try to prevent such murders, Carrie and Charles agreed to become bodyguards of lesbian models at Aphrodite Agency. The only lesbian model currently working for Aphrodite Agency is named Karen Lanyard. Karen asks that her wife Jessica, co-owner of a gay/lesbian nightclub, also be protected. So Charles guards Karen, and Carrie guards Jessica Lanyard by becoming one of her club's bouncers. But then a fourth victim of the serial killer is discovered, and the investigators realize that in addition to being lesbians, the victims also had long blonde hair, as does Debbie. When Debbie hears about this, she volunteers to be bait in a trap to draw out the killer and bring him to justice. The following night, Debbie proceeds to walk through the park while being closely monitored by the Dallas police and the Queer Avengers. Sure enough, the killer is revealed to be Fred Munson, who was a classmate of Debbie and Carrie in high school. Even as a teen, he was obsessed with Debbie because of her beauty, but he was too afraid of Carrie to do anything to Debbie. Thinking he has the advantage, Fred then tries to strangle Debbie. But Debbie pulls out a hidden gun and shoots Fred. He is then arrested and taken to hospital by the police. The next day, the Lanyards propose throwing a celebration at Jessica Lanyard's club in Debbie's honor, and Debbie agrees to attend along with Carrie, Charles McKenzie, Michael Jefferson, Richard and Diana. And so ends the second season of Debbie and Carrie, The Next Generation.